Hello, everybody. Welcome to this new edition of the Global Wisdom Gathering, Dreaming the New Earth. This time all about our creative nature as a portal to wholeness. This 5-day event is an in-depth conversation about our inherent connection with creation. It's about humans as part of and not separate from nature. It is about how we can experience true belonging here on our exquisite planet and about our innate power to create, all of which is key in our journey toward liberation, expansion, and sovereignty. We also explore the land, the plant, and the animal worlds as allies and teachers and how they are showing the way. And I'm here today with not one, but three guest speakers in this session. How amazing. And I will be introducing each one to you with their bios for those who don't know them. We have Cathrine Nyquist, Eleni Gkikakis, and Christine Noble-Stella. And yeah, welcome all three of you. It's so wonderful to speak with you today. Thank you so much for being part of Dreaming the New Earth. So Cathrine Charning Nyquist is the co-founder and honorary ambassador of Panthera Africa Big Cat Sanctuary in South Africa. A visionary leader and an intuitive interspecies communicator dedicated to creating a world where humans, animals, and nature live in peaceful coexistence. After a corporate career in commercial property in Oslo, Norway, Cathrine followed a profound soul calling that led her to co-found Panthera Africa in 2014 in Stanford, South Africa, where she spent more than a decade living and working alongside rescued big cats. Her deep relationships with these lions, leopards, and tigers awakened a powerful intuitive communication ability and a lifelong devotion to giving voice to the animals' wisdom. Beautiful. Christine Noble-Stella is an intuitive interspecies communicator, a sacred activist and advocate, and educator committed to amplifying the voices of animals, wildlife, and nature, helping humanity remember we are part of nature too. Since 2014, she has raised awareness of intuitive interspecies communication, or IIC, and its role in transforming human relationships with more than human voices. In 2024, Christine founded Interspecies Voices, Canada's first mission-driven IIC organization, advancing education, advocacy, and partnerships through direct interspecies communication. Her work models respect, reciprocity, and peaceful coexistence while bridging global challenges with compassion and connection across animal welfare, wildlife conservation, animal rights, as well as One Health, One Welfare, and the rights of nature. And Eleni Gkikakis is a global advocate for interspecies peace with more than 2 decades of experience restoring sacred relations between humans, animals, and the living earth. As the founder of the Interspecies Peace Foundation, now celebrating its 10-year anniversary, Eleni has dedicated her life to reawakening humanity's innate capacity to listen, empathize, and co-create with the more than human world. Her teachings draw from ceremony, indigenous wisdom traditions, lived experience with wildfires and elemental forces, and decades of intuitive communication with animals and ecosystems. She has collaborated with Jane Goodall and the Jane Goodall Institute on Conservation and Youth Empowerment, and her path continues to be deeply guided by her mentorship with Andrew Harvey, founder of the Institute for Sacred Activism. Amazing. So this is a shortened version of their bios, and for the full bios, please do go ahead and read them on this page where you are viewing the interview. And they are going to be sharing with us about intuitive interspecies communication and its role in conservation and how listening to the more than human reshapes conservation, healing, and our relationship with the earth. A big topic, a beautiful topic. Thank you so much for bringing this piece of the puzzle to this event. And let's go straight into some questions, starting with some basics like what is intuitive interspecies communication? And this is a question for all three of you. How did you each come to IIC and why do you feel it's vital and essential? Would you like to start, Christine?
Sure. Thank you, Clara. On behalf of Eleni and Kat, we're deeply honored to be here with everyone and those who are joining on the replay. We're grateful to be dreaming the new earth together. So yeah, a great place to start. Thanks for asking me what this question means. So let's start with what IIC, or Intuitive Interspecies Communication, is, and then we'll go a little bit into what it isn't, because there are some myths about it. Then we'll talk about why it's beneficial, and where it's used. And then we'll lead into how each of us got into the field and why we feel it's so important. So, a simple definition of intuitive interspecies communication, which I'm going to start referring to IIC now for short, because it is a mouthful, is that it is direct two-way communication with other animals, plants, the land, and nature spirits. And when we think of communication amongst ourselves, we often think about spoken or written language, though IIC is a silent language. It's a nonverbal language, and we communicate with all of nature through images, sensations, emotions, and inner knowing. And yeah, it actually can include words or sentences that we see or we hear. It's really important to say the best communications, the most authentic ones with nature, are rooted in presence, because humans are so busy and we've forgotten how to be, love, and respect. And I want to assure everyone that this is a natural, innate capacity that we're all born with. But if some of you are feeling not so confident, I want to say it's a skill that can be learned, or rather remembered through practice. And many of you may remember that as a child, you did this. You spoke with your animals, or you felt deeply connected to a tree. But it's societal conditioning that leads us to doubt, or to dismiss this capacity, or to overthink it. So historically, IIC is gaining recognition across academic research circles and science, but it's far from new. Historically and across cultures, humans have communicated with animals, plants, and the land and nature spirits as an essential part of life. Now I want to talk about what it isn't. So many of you have read the story or watched the movie Dr. Dolittle. So IIC is not a fantasy. It's not something that's just found in a children's book. And it's also not a special gift reserved for just a few people. It's truly accessible. So some of the other myths around IIC is that humans were really good as a species attributing human qualities to other species or ecosystems, or we project our assumptions on them as to what's best for them. That's not what IIC is, because we're learning directly from those beings as partners. It's also not what we learn in textbooks around their body language or their vocalizations. Because people think, oh, you're just interpreting information. And it's like, no, it's a two-way conversation like you and I would have. It's also not technology based. And this is an important factor, because this is an area that's growing right now. There are talking buttons, there's AI, there's machine learning, and a lot of human constructed systems where there's a lot of funds and a lot of efforts going into how do we communicate with the rest of the world. When the reality is IIC already exists, it's intuitive, it's available to us now. A really important thing that people don't realize, and this speaks to our relationship and our disconnection from nature, is that we don't use IIC to dominate, control, or manipulate other beings. Communicators recognize that nature is sentient, intelligent, and sovereign. And one of the things that we find repeatedly is that humans do not give them enough credit. There is so much wisdom in the natural world. So, highlighting some of the benefits quickly. What's amazing about IIC is we can do it across distance. Geography is irrelevant, so it's extraordinarily accessible. It restores relationship reciprocity and humility, because it helps us remember we're part of nature, not separate from it. It encourages balanced and harmonious coexistence. And one of the things I really like is that it involves the very beings that we're making decisions about as equal partners in the decision-making process. And lastly, where is this being used in the world? Because we're going to hear some stories from Eleni and Kat about IIC and conservation. But I want you to know that IIC is being used in animal care with your animal family members, in animal rescue, that's domesticated animals, that is wildlife and rehabilitation. It is used in conservation, like you're going to hear about today, and ecological restoration. So we know collectively, veterinarians, academic researchers, scientists, conservationists, and ecologists that also practice IIC alongside their work. So it helps them in every possible way you can think of. Rather than guessing why they're behaving a certain way, the animal can tell us. When we're deciding about their care and their health, the animal and the ecosystem can tell us what's needed. And the last thing I want to share is it's wonderful to share with you what IIC is about, but it's the lived experience where it truly comes alive. So that's where I hand it over to Eleni and Kat, who will be sharing some further information and stories so you can really see the transformative power of intuitive interspecies communication. Does somebody else, or I'll just go into how I got into it and then I'll turn it over to Eleni and Kat. So very briefly, my story was in 2011. I watched an online meditation with a professional animal communicator, and we did an experiential exercise, and who came forward were some animals from my childhood. It was a very significant relationship that we had, and they were very clear. They said, this is your life's work, and you need to get to work. And I spent the next 4 years immersing myself in learning everything I could and then opening my doors professionally, and found that my advocate side has continued to blossom and grow in this field. So that's what IIC is. That's how I came to it. And why do I feel it's so important? Because I see so much that they say nature has no voice. But indeed it does. It's just that we haven't known how to listen, bring those voices to the table, treat them as equals, and bring them forward for solutions that we both share, because you only need to look at what the humans have done to know how capable we are.
Yeah.
And I turn it over to my dear colleagues for what's brought them into this field and why they feel it's important.
Wonderful. Thank you. Who would like to go next? That question.
Kat.
Yes, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here today, first of all. I'll try and make my story short. Coming from Norway, ending up in South Africa, meeting these incredible big cats, I had the opportunity to, I was shown that there were lots of these cats that had been abandoned by their mothers, and that I came to save them and rescue them. And so I believe this to be true until one day, 4 of kind of my lions and my children was sent away while I was there. And it took me about 2 weeks until we got ourselves into that breeding facility that they were sent to, until I actually understood what I was a part of. This whole breeding circus, as I call it, is a mass exploitation of the big cats. And I remember I just looked to the side, and there I saw my 4 lions standing there with eyes so big and pleading like help. And I just broke down, and I didn't know what to do. And I call him Oliver, my white knight. He's a beautiful white lion. And I said, one day I'll come and fetch you. So fast forward 2 years later, Panthera Africa had been established. We had just briefly heard about animal communication, and we wanted to ensure that our rescued animals were all settling in and were all good. So 2 weeks after they had arrived, we got a beautiful lady in to connect with our animals, and we were very interested to hear, are they okay? Is everything going well? Are they getting fed? Everything like this. And this lady came and she gave kind of the report of everything. And then she said, but there's one thing I'm not understanding, but it's for you, Kat. And Oliver says, thank you for keeping your promise. And I had never told a soul that I promised him that I would fetch him. And so that sparked my whole I was like, what is possible here? And how can something that no one knew, that this lady could actually share this with me through this beautiful being. And so my journey started, and that was kind of the ignition I needed. And 11 years later, I've done nothing but kind of digging in and learning more and more and more.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that story. It just gave me goosebumps. Quite amazing. Eleni.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll just echo beautiful Christine and beautiful Cathrine, how grateful I am to be here and honored. Thank you, Clara. Yeah, stories like this is just humbling to the rest of us, isn't it? And I'll just briefly say that my own path in what I knew as a child was animal communication and plant communication, and I will refer to it as intuitive interspecies communication. It wasn't really something that I chose for myself. It was something that I was doing naturally ever since I could remember. And it was a remembering. It was something that I guess I brought into this world with me when I was born. And from a very, very young age, I could feel the presence of even unseen animals and ecosystems. People would just call me that I have a very strong child's imagination and a fantasy, but I was very much aware of intelligence and wisdom and messages that were coming through from these beings that were on the physical or in another plane, in the spirit world. And that was really profound for my childhood. And I couldn't really have any words to describe this, but it was very natural and it was very real and very normal to me. But as I was understanding later in life that there's more to it, and there's an ethical way to actually work with this ability. And that was the important thing. I decided that I wanted to put some framework and some structure in that ability that I had. And I wanted to see, there must be some ethical boundaries within which we get to work with in the natural world. Then I started studying it, and I got into my ceremony and indigenous wisdom traditions. And I had profound moments of communication with wildfires here in Greece and other places. And this is where much of the wisdom and guidance came through. So this capacity just became an essential part of my life. I was going to say of my work, but it's not just work. It's my life. You just go out in the morning and you just hear the clouds and the birds and your own animals. So it is really beautiful. And why do I feel this is vital and important at this time? Well, we are at a turning point, aren't we? This is really critical times and unprecedented in the history of the planet. And I understand that, and I know Kat is going to get more into that and be more specific about this, but conservation has been misunderstood as something that we get to manage species and landscapes. But to me, it is about serving. It is about becoming one with nature, which we are, but consciously understanding that we are one with this planet and live in a relationship of reciprocity, humility, and listening. And once we get to include the perspectives of the animals and ecosystems themselves in the situations that we have created of so many problems and so many challenges, then we can move from intervention to collaboration to true conservation. So we begin to make decisions with nature, not simply about nature, with her, not for her. So for me, specifically, it is a way of restoring the sacredness of the relationships that we already hold in our hearts, consciously or unconsciously, because we do all have these relationships within us. And we're honoring the agency, the sovereignty of all beings, and allowing their wisdom to guide us toward a future that is compassionate, life-sustaining, what we call the new earth. So yes, it is very vital right now. The time is now. Thank you.
Thank you. And yeah, so that leads us to the next question, and perhaps this is more a question for Kat, but if anybody else would like to add anything, that would be great also. How would we define conservation? You started touching on that, Eleni. How would we define it, and how would we define sanctuary?
So there are always many kind of definitions. For me, like conservation in its true definition is about conserving something in its natural habitat. And so that means like having the wild in the wild. And of course, one can say what is its natural habitat and what is conserving them. For me, like now on this kind of platform that we're talking about now, it also goes into, of course, their innate wisdom and their that we see them as sentient beings and actually co-create with them. So for me, true conservation becomes then even a step further, is to co-create with them, with their innate wisdom. And they, I'll tap into that later, but like it's incredible, the perspectives and the suggestions that they have, which is way beyond the natural human mind to even think of, which is the brilliance of when you commune with them. And for us, Panthera Africa is what you call like the definition of a true sanctuary. For me, it's a true rescue where all animals are captive born. They are all rescued from whatever kind of what you call it, exploitative background. Yeah, so whether it's zoo or circus, private household, hunting, whatever it is, and that there is no breeding. There is no hands-on interaction, and there's no trading of the animals. They are seen as sentient beings. This is their forever home, and animal welfare is the natural, like it's the foundation of everything. And that's for us. We have taken it's a step further, saying that this animal communication and then the commune with them is so important. For them to really, really feel that peace and harmony that they deserve to have.
And how can IIC be used in conservation if we put these two things together? And how do you balance intuitive guidance with the practical on-the-ground management that you experience?
So for me, again, it goes a little bit back to what you, Eleni, said in terms of this. So our human world is now so man-made. And we are we started long time ago. It's like, okay, this is my land, this is my country, this is my language, this is my home. Instead of saying, no, it's actually Mother Earth's land, and we are all coexisting. That's how it was before. And so this is kind of where I believe IIC will have the massive impact, is that we go and co-create. We use this when we go. For example, there's so many examples saying that if you think about the big reserves and, okay, a big landowner has taken over, this is my land. And so they put up fences around their, say, 40,000 hectares. And then that fence line suddenly separates the line of the elephants and where they have wandered for thousands of years. Yeah, and it separates the communities who has also co-created with the land for thousands of years. And suddenly you get what they call problem animals, because the animals are not listening to what we are telling them to do. Yeah. And so you have these massive, like big challenges that we forget that actually now we create these things. So if we can just, if I in hyphens, like co-create and listen to what they say, like now open these lines, rather get the community into the and help get them to help you. And I have many examples. It's like, for example, one animal, an elephant, that he was so persistent that he wanted these rich people who own this 5-star lodge to co-create with the community. And he said, like, I will even risk my life or sacrifice my life to get this point through to the owners. And the owners did not listen, and this elephant actually ended up being killed. So they are, it's so profound how the animals are able to get their message through if we just dare to listen to them. And this is kind of, they are saying, yeah, a life is just a chapter in a book. So they don't see life so detrimental as we see it. They were like, well, I'll come back and I'll make my point again until you will listen to what we have to say. And they say it in a little bit of a humoristic way because they feel we humans are so stubborn and so in our minds. And so this beautiful co-creation and how we can use this interspecies communication can truly change the pathway of how we can create.
Mm-hmm. And sanctuary, how do we define? Sorry.
Oh yeah, the practical part. Yeah. So for us, I want to see it's a true honor and a privilege to run this sanctuary and co-creation with these beautiful beings. So we communicate with them from, say, time of a rescue. So we go prior to introduce ourselves, what the work it is that we do, why we are wanting them to come to us, and what their purpose will be together with us. Yeah. And so this for us, like we have, all our rescues has been incredibly smooth. And I always, again, try to put it into the human world. Imagine if I came and fetched you at your door, I put you in a car and I drove 2 hours, I put you on a plane, we flew for 10 hours, I put you in another car, and then you ended up in a home and you have no idea where you are. That's what normal animal lives are like. In comparison, if I then told you, my name is Cathrine, and I'm going to bring you to the most loving home where you're going to be loved and nurtured, and you will have the best life possible, etc., whatever you say. So these aspects of a rescue, because they are all very traumatized animals, and it makes the world of difference for them. And then other aspects on the ground, we use it anything from enrichment. So we have a lot of enrichment programs that we activate our animals. So they're very good to tell us what they like, what they don't like, what they would love to have. So we create like a loads of kind of fun things for them to jump for, or whatever it is that they want, because it's beyond what we can actually think of. I had a caracal and she wanted like an ostrich, big feather thing that she could play with. So like they come up with beautiful things that we can then support and give them the best life possible. And then it's to what they eat, and of course also if there's something wrong with them. And that is an incredible tool that they can actually explain to us what you said, Eleni. They can tell us, okay, I have pain in my kidney or stomach or whatever it is, and then my nail is ingrown or whatever it is. And then we can then very quickly pick up on what it is and whether it's medication or a vet procedure or whatever. And then some fun examples also, they help us with our staff. So one time, like Lizanne and myself, we were away on holiday, and suddenly we got a report from our lion telling us this and this is taking place on the sanctuary. So it's very cool. It's amazing how they can then give us information what it is that we need to hear, and then we can co-create with them and collaborate with them. Yeah, and then also, of course, the transition phase. It's an honor, a true privilege to be a holder of peace and of light and of safety for them, while they, like before, they prepare us and saying, okay, I don't know how long I have left, but it is coming. And so we can prepare and we can go through, and it also supports the whole mourning and the gratitude of their life and everything. So when they transition, they leave very easily, which is an honor in itself. So yeah, I have many examples and can go on, but it's a crucial tool in order to give the animals the best possible life on this planet.
Beautiful. How different an experience, right? To if that wasn't part of the process, that two-way relationship and communication, it's just a worlds apart. Share with us some more stories. How in conservation, we're talking about IIC in conservation. So how has IIC, in your experiences, how has it come to change a decision or determine a particular decision or outcome for animals and or ecosystems?
Do you, Eleni, want to go, or do you want me to continue? I can't hear you, but I think you said for me to continue.
Whatever you prefer, really. I just think that if you want a breather, I can go with a story and then you can come in, whatever you prefer. Okay, I'll do that then.
Yeah.
Well, I do have quite a few stories, but before I go into the story, I would like to make a little note for the specific one. The objective of the whole thing that we're all working for, I believe here, especially with this topic, is to actually make people a lot more aware about this, a lot more aware about the possibilities, a lot more aware about how much more easy it can be for animals and for the people working on the ground in conservation and sanctuaries and rehabilitation and rewilding and all that. And that, I need to say that, but it translates to money as well. It can be, when it gets easier, when it gets a little bit more fast, you conserve money. The resources that are needed to expand the territory, the resources that are needed for veterinary bills, the resources to go into rescuing and assisting another animal. Because instead of just like chasing around a wounded animal to capture in order to rehabilitate, and the animal just doesn't understand what's happening and it's running for its life even further from the same people that want to rescue that animal, then you just tell them, we have these intentions. These are the sounds that you're going to hear. These are the people that you might see. These are the vehicles or other machinery that might surround you. The objective and the whole point of this is to assist you. And what we would like from you is, I don't know, appear at a specific time of day in a specific place to make it easier. And I'll go back to what Christine was explaining in the beginning about what intuitive interspecies communication is not. They are having free will. They will choose and decide in the end what they want to do. But at least let's give them the courtesy of explaining to them. And when all these huge missions are distilled down to just a couple of days instead of a couple of weeks' time, when there may be no couple of weeks in the life of an animal that needs help, then that also translates in resources saved to put even further into conservation. And the other thing that I would like to say at this point is that there are so many out there that they are working with intuitive interspecies communication and they're not open about it. Because, it sounds weird a lot to some people still. But we're here to show them that it's not weird and it is actually easy and it is so beautiful. And there are many issues around the organizations and environmental conservation organizations that are keeping it a bit silent is because they're afraid that they might lose their funding, that they might lose the seriousness of the work that they're doing, that they're concerned about how people might perceive it, especially in the scientific community. So it happens very much, in secret, so to speak. So this is one of the stories that I'm going to share with you. And that is why I cannot disclose the place or specific information. Somewhere in the world, there was a situation of a bear, a mama bear, that was poached, killed right in front of her cubs, 3 cubs. And it was in a big national park, a place where, as Kat explained, it is a conservation mission. People are just monitoring and looking and trying to not intervene with the natural ways unless it is important to intervene because the human ways have intervened in a different way. So there has to be some balance in that. So when this beautiful mama bear was killed, and it was a huge subject in the media as well, the first thing that the scientific department of the parks staff was thinking about is that they need to get the cubs because they were way too young to be left and survive on their own. So through friends and people that are working with me and with them, we got into some sort of communication, and they asked for my opinion. First of all, they wanted me to reassure the cubs that humans are going to do their best to find solutions to keep them safe. And first of all, what I wanted to do is just tell them how sorry I am, and I just compassionately and lovingly be with them, with these orphaned babies that were still going back to the place where their mother was killed because they were looking for her. So it was a long process, and it lasted more than a year, actually. But the whole thing that it came down to is that we were finding ourselves in a situation where there were the scientific and conservation and very square-minded people thinking that we need to capture the cubs, by we, I'm saying humans, and to put them into a sanctuary where it is very unlikely that they will ever be able to go back to the wild. And the other option is to give me some time to see if we can guide the bear cubs further back into the forest, into safe areas where they could forage for themselves, show them what that is looking like, show them where they could actually start going back to their mother's den so that they can be preparing themselves and their bodies for hibernation. So we basically had to explain to them what the process is of growing up without their mother and what would they learn with their mother. Now, what is fascinating about that story is that a lot of things happened, a lot of fighting on the ground about what needs to be done and what not. So there was a point where the decision had to be made, that they had to be brought in. And then I explained to them, and I remember that I asked from their mother to come and help me so that she will talk to them from spirit. And of course she was already, but I said, we have to make them understand that unless they go to this specific area of the forest where there is a lot of berries and a lot of orchards of apples and pears and other trees and start eating a lot and well, they will be captured and they will live in captivity. And if that is what is needed, then I'll understand and I'll back off. But I feel that that's not what is needed because they want to live free. I know their mother was trying to teach them as well through her own communication with them from spirit and through the things that she was giving me as instructions for them. And so I knew that we had to somehow find a way to keep them into the wild. So I kept on that communication, and I remember that I was also communicating with the whole ecosystem, with the whole land, saying, just be welcoming to these young, beautiful paws, just be welcoming. And I was explaining to the wolves, can you just give them space? Please don't hunt them. Don't go near them. The wolves just suddenly take the role of protector, and they wanted to protect them because there was so much injustice being done to animals. And wolves know that as well because they have their own stories. And then foxes were also going for the berries. So they said, we're going to show them where the berries are. So it was just remarkable how all of this happened. And they just came together to help and assist. I was even praying and communicating with the weather, just give them a little bit more time of good weather. Let's just give them a bit more time of good weather so that they can build up their strength. And a couple of weeks later, I just received a couple of photographs of their scat with a lot of seeds of berries and apples inside. And that was actually so much. I mean, it wasn't a lot, but it was the proof that was needed so that the scientific and the staff on the ground could see that the cubs were actually listening to the guidance, to the intuitive guidance of some humans, of their mother, of other species as well, living with them, the birds, the eagles also watching over them. And they guided them and they nurtured them. And it's like we say for humans, it takes a village. It took the entire wildlife of a forest to come in and take care of these 3 cubs. And then the challenging part was like, are they well enough to go into hibernation? And then their mother was telling me, tell them to go to that place where I have a lot of my fur. There's a lot of fur. So it was her den, it was clear. But then she was guiding me to tell them to follow her scent, whatever was left from her scent. So they went into the place that was where was their mother's den. And there was a lot of nervousness about how strong they are to go into hibernation, but they did. And all 3 of them woke up the following spring and they're doing well and they're thriving. And I'm still checking in with them from time to time. And now they're also teachers to other animals that are being orphaned, especially those that are being orphaned from human ways. So that is, to me, that was a wonderful example of how we managed to conserve wildlife into the wild in a situation that everything that we know of in science and conservation and environmentalism, and also in our heart, to save those cubs, those cubs, even if that means getting them into a sanctuary, we went so much opposite to what we were thinking was right, and we were feeling the heart of the whole of the ecosystem of a wounded mother who was still caring for her children, 3 orphaned cubs that they were so unsure and so much in grief, but also in a playfulness in discovering life on their own. And they had each other, which was wonderful. And that was an incredible success. And that is just opening the doors, and I'm open, call me anytime you want. I'm here. This is part of the pro bono work that we do. This is how we want to assist. This is how we want to support you and tell you as well, if we feel that there's a cub or a pup or whatever animal needing assistance, then we will tell you to intervene because they will ask for it and they will need it. So again, that filters down to the practical things of how faster, more simple, and more economically it can happen. So hopefully stories like these, and I know Kat has so many more, are going to inspire a lot more people to just open up and also not worry about admitting how they did it, because there's so many doing it that if a few people say it, then everybody says, oh, I've done this as well, and we've done this as well, we've done this as well. We have no idea how many are actually doing it and just a little bit shy in admitting it. There's nothing to be shy about. This is what we're all here to do at this time for New Earth. Thank you.
But share some more. These feel-good stories, just incredible. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, sure. That is very, like, my whole body is like so excited for these bears. It's just magic, and this like awakens my whole inner child. You get so excited that this is actually really happening now in this time. So I asked, like, what story should I share? And the one story that came very clear to me was more like in terms of a perspective. So the animals, especially in particular the lions, they came to me and they said, like, share that as a collective, the lions have agreed to go into this whole industry that we are going through. And for many people that are not aware There's a mass industry of big cats, in particular lions, that are mass bred in captivity, and it's all for the call it the money, whether they are into tourism or the hunting of them or the killing them for their bones, the same as the rhino or the ivory. And this perspective is like, it changed the whole way of how we as humans, or at least for me, and how we work, can co-create with them. Because very often we humans, we come from a place of anger, of judgment, and that kind of fuels. It's just like they always show me, yeah, but cat is just the opposite side of the coin. So, because there's equal anger and fear on both sides. So we need to change the whole thing and say, okay, what if we actually are doing this to help humanity to wake up? What if we hold the compassion and the love for everything that is going on and keep the perspective that every single human is actually acting from their best and from their awareness. Yeah, there's no people wanting to cause any harm, but it is that they believe this is right. And so we had one of our lions, OB. He was rescued to us, and he came in and he was barely alive. Like, he slept for 15 hours in the car. And when he woke up, we were not sure whether he was going to make it through the first year. And with this animal communicator that came to visit, his first question was, how is my previous owner, the breeder? I know he's not doing well. And this is the level of compassion these animals have. From having had an owner who basically starved him to death, couldn't care whether he died or lived, and having that compassion to see this person is actually suffering. And their wisdom always shared to me is that the lions, it's kind of a reporting system, that they go into all these different facilities and they feel how all our humans are doing, what level we are, what is happening, and reporting kind of back to we call it the lion web, that all the lions have kind of this beautiful network of web of communication that's around the globe, or even higher, wherever you want to have it, and where they have their communication. And so they can co-create and report back. And then so when then say NSPCA, they come into a facility and they go in to see what is happening and investigate. These people have a love frequency in their hearts. That just that one moment of love is enough for all these animals that are there to know, okay, this is the love, this is what it is, not in the human essence. So that's kind of where I was told to share this, that the perspective and what we as humans, they invite us to hold this mass place of compassion, of forgiveness, and of gratitude for what we're actually experiencing. And they pushed me very far. So one of the main reasons why I started together with Lausanne Panthera Africa was a lion called Shani, and she was killed for the bone trade. And I was on my way, go to Norway. I'd had enough. I couldn't do it anymore. Yet they showed me like, okay, you have now a choice. Do you want to go into the anger or the fear, or do you actually want to make this your life mission? Turn it into your right and make it your fire and make it your forgiveness. And this is kind of where they always teach us that nature is forgiving. Animals is forgiving if we just dare to take down our shields and our very hard knitted human protection shield and just kind of surrender and listen and dare to open up our hearts to love. Because when we do that, this world is actually magic. And that's where I feel like they say every conservation we see, like leopards that suddenly take care of a little antelope that lost its mom. Like it didn't want to eat it, it wants to protect it. Like this is how beautiful nature is. And that's kind of where I feel they are showing us, the lions are showing us the industry currently is the mirror of what is happening with us humans. We are caged in our minds. We are not free, but we are the ones setting up the fences and we can put it down. And that's kind of where I feel this whole thing that they wanted to show me.
And that takes us to another question around emotions, and just hearing all these stories, so much is stirring for me at least. And my question is around navigating grief, just experiencing the world as it is now. How do you navigate grief and the responsibility and the weight of what you're all doing, supporting conservation? Do our feelings and our decisions and our actions, do they affect other animals and ecosystems? And how do you navigate all of this? Whoever would like to answer this one.
Eleni, do you want to start with that, and I'll continue and pick it up?
Yeah, I can go. Well, there's a term that I've come to love that describes part of eco grief, and it's solastalgia, which is a composite of solace and nostalgia. This is a term that was coined by the Australian philosopher Glenn Albrecht in 2003, 2005. And it describes the profound grief and homesickness we feel while we're still living in our home environment, because we witness it to change and degrade and disappear. And this is the nostalgia for a home that is being lost in real time. And solastalgia for me captures the ache we feel for Earth, and we remember it in our bones, and the longing for the Earth that we want to restore, isn't it? And this is the longing that is our call. This is the call that we're here for today, and it is the compass that is pointing us toward the new Earth we're meant to co-create. So beautifully shared in Kat's story earlier, and navigating between grief and responsibility in conservation becomes possible when we understand that the grief itself is a form of devotion. It is the sacred anger, the sacred rage. It is that turns into sacred action. It is a sign that there is an unbroken bond with the more than human world. And with intuitive interspecies communication, we discover that we're not alone in that grieving process. The animals and the ecosystems do meet us in that space. They have a lot more wisdom and a lot more understanding around this. They have a lot more understanding about the sacred contracts behind the stories that we grieve about, but they're guiding us through them, and they're showing us these ways. They're showing us the whys, and they're showing us the how to move forward, and they steady us in the work that we do. And we're being reminded of the role that we have, that our belonging, our capacity to act, that strong sense of hope that is put into action. And it just reconnects us, and it just brings us back into that feeling of home, a home that we have not lost. We're just at the brink maybe, or it feels like we're at the brink. And we are having that nostalgia for the beautiful home that we've been having in the heavens, and it is being mirrored in the animals' spirit lives. And we just want to mirror it back here into our daily lives and onto our planet. And it can transform this helplessness, and it can transform that desperation into purpose and into a deeper form of love, into feeling the essence of life within our essence. So it can be heavy, of course, and I'm one to be known to go into that heaviness quite a lot. It's maybe a fault of mine, but I'm also having animals saying it's not a fault. It's where you're needing to be. It's where you're needed to be carried at times in order to feel that despair so that it will take you into action. So, dare I say, I'm grateful for that pain of grief. Well, the actions will speak for themselves, I guess. Hopefully, they're going to be ones that do bring change and do bring transformation. So, in the end, maybe I can say I'm grateful for that pain because it has taught us and it has moved us into that sacred space of caring and changing and bringing life back into this planet.
Thank you, Eleni. I think the follow-up question that Clara asked about how humans' feelings, decisions, and actions are affecting other animals, wildlife, and ecosystems is so important. I think as humans, we're well aware that the decisions and actions we have taken have, as we've discussed so far, have changed the face of the earth. We hear the number of animals that are endangered or who have gone extinct. And so much in the last 50 years. We've heard of the devastation of the oceans and the land. And so often we feel powerless. And I think one of the things that we're coming to do is to help empower you and show you that whether you're familiar with intuitive interspecies communication or not, that you can make a difference. So one of the things we'd like to make you aware of is that nature and all of her beings operate on the language of energy. So trust that they can feel our emotions, the energy behind our decisions, as well as the motivations and the impact of our actions ourselves. So the energy with which we make our choices, those actual decisions, the actual actions, as is important as the decisions and the actions themselves. Please be aware of your intentions because energy follows intention. So we want to reassure that everyone here watching today that even if you're not a conservation professional, even if you're not currently yet actively practicing IIC, you can contribute to this evolutionary leap, which is simply by consciously every moment taking care to listen. Because we've forgotten this act of inclusion. We've forgotten this act of listening. And by showing that we care enough to stop, be present, listen, it has a ripple effect. So many times, there are collective things that I've worked particularly with Eleni on, and nature and her beings ask us to celebrate them. And that loving them and being in celebration is the high energy, along with the compassion we've talked about, that is missing and needed. And Jane Goodall, who Eleni worked with, talks so much about that we protect what we love. But we become very insular in our world in that we just deal with humans, and we've forgotten that we too are an animal species and we too are part of nature, and that we too can play a role even as individuals. And as more individuals come together, we have a bigger impact. So we encourage you to bring awareness, consciousness to your choices by supporting ecosystems and all the beings in them, because this will help foster a more harmonious and awakened world, which together means we are dreaming that new earth. As Cathrine has said, we co-create. And for me, it has always been, and for so many of us, communication between humans fosters so many possibilities. Communications with ecosystems and other animals fosters that ability to collaborate, to work together, and to co-create that new earth. So please know that you can make a difference, and know that communication makes it so much easier to do that.
And what are the animals saying? What do they want us to know about conservation and how we can help? You were talking about even people that are not, familiar or don't practice IIC the way that you do, for example. You're a regular person. How can, what do the animals want us to know about conservation, and how can we help and work together now? There's questions for all three of you. So whoever would like to jump in first, go ahead.
Yeah, you want to go, Eleni?
No, go ahead, Kat. Go ahead. Sorry.
No. So again, the animals, they are so beautiful. Because I was like connecting in with them and like, what is it that they really want us to know? And it's, of course, we talk about this co-creation and harmony, and we want to create the balance and restore. And they always come back. It's like, if like the wounded souls, when we are healed, we see a healed world, and they go back to, we need to work on our self-love. So if it's one thing that we can do to actually help animals and help nature, it is to go within and love ourselves. Because when we become full of love, then we share the love. Then we want to be more compassionate. We have more patience. We have more love to share. We are more joyous, and this ripples. So that's kind of very short and yeah. And it's all like they always continue to talk about this play and celebration, like you said, Christine. We make life so serious. And they laugh at me. They're like, "Oh, here you go again with all this mind stuff." And it's like, play through it, flow through it, because we choose to stay so deep into this dense energy. And so that is kind of where I feel that the biggest lessons and the biggest gift is to try and detach from go into nature and just be there. There's actually, you don't need to do even, because they always say we are human beings, we're not human doing. So stop doing and stop be and continue to be. And I actually, honestly, I didn't know how to be. I didn't know that I could just be. And suddenly when you learn to be as a tree, what happens then? You flow in the wind and you smile and you kind of feel the sunshine, and then the ripples. And so that's kind of, I feel, the biggest message. And one thing that I just want to finish off with is like, knowledge is not enough anymore. We need to embody the wisdom which we all have in our hearts. And that is what this IIC can really help us to connect in with ourselves. Because we often go outside ourselves to ask nature, to ask animals, to ask whatever else. Yet when they always go into yourself, go and sit in your sacred darkness, it's all the wisdom, because we all one. And so we actually all are these divine beings of knowledge that we can share with each other.
Eleni, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I can go next. Thank you. Well, this is emotional. What do they say? What is their message about how we can work together? Well, Kat said a lot. It's like the slowing down, the listening, acting from heart and not fear. They ask us to step out of the polarization we have put ourselves into, the judgment, the human-centered narratives, to join them in co-creating solutions that are rooted in respect and reciprocity. They say, we're not separate from you. Your healing is our healing. Your clarity is our safety. Your courage is our freedom. Become who you truly are, our relative, not our conqueror, a listener, not a controller, a protector, not out of duty, but out of love for the emerging of New Earth. Aho.
Thank you, Cathrine. Thank you, Eleni. I echo everything you say. I have very little to add, but I will honor what is being shown to me to give voice to it. The word empathy, love, and compassion have been mentioned, is being thrown around now as a negative word. And I want to honor that it is so important, because the other words that are coming through to me that I'm being shown are oneness. We are interconnected. We are one. What we do to ourselves, we do to another. We are interdependent. Nature will live on, whether humans want to live on with nature. We have this opportunity right now to ask for help from all of nature. And when I use nature, it means all animals, including humans, all ecosystems, because even humans have separated it into words, into animals, wildlife, and nature, and we compartmentalize. And instead of becoming insular, we need to open up and be connected. Inclusion, empathy, oneness, interconnected, interdependent. And the last message coming through from all of nature in her beautiful inclusiveness is for us to trust ourselves. Not only to go inward as we've been guided, to love ourselves, to love each other, to love others, but there's a fear that we have of our inability to trust ourselves and that inner guidance and that inner wisdom that we have. And that inner wisdom and guidance is connected to all inner wisdom and guidance that we have, not just within ourselves, but beyond us. And that the rest of nature is very aware and connected to. And by being in nature and being in this stillness, as my beautiful colleagues have shared, it becomes easier to access this. Thank you.
Beautiful. I have one last question for you. What is your personal vision or your personal prayer for the new earth? It's a big question, but if we could answer it briefly, each of you.
Well, then I will start because I was going to say something, and that is maybe also my wish. It is, I see it very clearly. I just see lots of hands holding around the globe. So it's like if you go outside the globe and you see all these lights, so see the four of us now, we are actually sitting all on different sides of the earth, and we are beaming one light. And between us, there's this beautiful golden connection. And so all the people at this summit, they feel our light, and so they are ignited. And so our strings are connected. And this immense importance of, because we want to belong, we are urging, and what you also started with, this beautiful connection. We feel lost from home, but being connected through this incredible summit is how we feel home. We feel we belong. And so our light shines brighter. And so my vision is this beautiful earth with all these lights sparkling all over the earth with these beautiful threads. And this is then the so-called line web, the human web, whatever it is. It's all light. So that's my vision.
Thank you. Eleni, Christine?
Very similar. I always feel that if each person is one point on the earth, like an acupuncture point, and then connecting with others, and it's just forming, I'm thinking of my prayer circle now, but it's like creating circles, like the circle we have created, the four of us here, along with the circle that we're creating with everyone who's watching live or was watching the recording, and everyone's circle overlapping with the other circle. Just, for me, it's like the grid of the flower of life surrounding the entire planet. So again, it is it's that sacred geometry, the flower of life that is held together with the threads of light from each one of us, each essence. And of course, that includes everything and everyone here and beyond. So yeah, a huge flower all around.
I'm feeling the energy, excuse me, as well as the words, feeling the energy beneath the words. Thank you, Clara, for asking us each this question of what our vision is. So my vision is to support nature's vision because we are nature. And nature, I hear, and others are hearing, is calling for balance. And balance is physical, emotional, spiritual, mental, within each being, collectively aligning masculine and feminine energies. And so my personal prayer for the new earth is that we work towards balance within ourselves, within our species, within our place of all of nature. And may this be so.
May this be so. Beautiful. Lots stirring. Thank you so much for all of that. Before we wrap up, would you like to explain a little bit about the gift that you're offering our audience, which is to continue this wonderful gathering in your circle? And I'm definitely going to join if I'm available. With a Q&A. Would you like to explain a little bit further? Who's going to go?
Christine, will you do the honors, please? Because this was actually your idea and it's brilliant.
Oh, thank you. Because this is a recorded session and we would really like to invite you to join the conversation, Eleni, Cathrine, and I are delighted as our free gift for this summit that Clara has beautifully put together to come together with us for a live hour Q&A where we can discuss this very topic, intuitive interspecies communication and its role in conservation. So whether you have questions about intuitive interspecies communication or conservation, or for all of us, or for any of us, it gives you a follow-up opportunity to dialogue further, to get your questions answered, to share your stories. And it'll also be an opportunity for us each to share a little bit more about what we do and how you can engage with what we do to support nature. I also want to reassure everybody that if you can't make the live, that a replay will be sent out to everybody that signs up for our free gift. So you will benefit from the conversation because we are stronger together. The more of you that join, the more synergy that happens, the more information that is shared. So we are absolutely thrilled and look forward to meeting you in this live Q&A as our gift to you in service of nature. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
And may I add, that is on January 20th, 8 p.m. South African, or as we call it, lion time. So, but we will send to anyone who is interested, they will receive an email with all the confirmation. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that wonderful gift and for sharing all of this beautiful wisdom and your lived experiences and for doing the very important work that you're doing. I'm so grateful. And yeah, thank you so much. Getting emotional here. It's been an absolute honor. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.